But the irony of those things was that also greater percentage of that funds were mismanaged. You know, leave on here. Greater percentage of that, he was saying I should talk to you. Greater percentage of that amount was mismanaged. You know, we saw how they looted the palliatives and how they constructed makeshift, kiosk that they called hospital and all that, and how it ended. In fact, in Ebonyi State, they had to allocate money to legislators to build house. They said it's COVID-19 support, and allocated them money to build house. So you are discovering, you'll be wondering what is the relationship between building a house and COVID-19. But that was exactly what happened then. Then Nigeria, but part of the challenges we're having also, we have a lot of unemployed people. As at the last time the national study was, it was about 33.3% of Nigerians that are unemployed. But we know it's more than that. It should be about 56 or 70% as at now. So it's difficult to link health insurance to unemployed people because you don't get the required data to do that. That's a challenge that we have. And many of the poor are excluded from access to high quality health care and health insurance because of that. Then finally, before I quit, there's a regulatory issue here. Since 2005, when the National Health Insurance Scheme was established by the health insurance law, I said it's only 3%, but we can see that even those that are covered under health insurance are unable to access medical care. In fact, when you go, they give you poor medication and all that, and expect you to still to go and buy from outside, which is a function of weak regulation. We hope that as the new law has been signed into law, we'll be able to deal with those issues. And finally, I said there's too much of ice cream scheming in Nigeria. What it means that even the health insurance scheme, those that are still working, what they do is that they select less risky groups for their coverage. And to this, I'll close and say that we need that health financing cannot work if we don't have good governance system. Right. Because health insurance is also a function of how we are governed as a nation and the institutions of governance that is available. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Dr. Chimikuba is first of all an economist. Then he is the chairman board of trustees, Amaka Chimikuba Foundation. Yes, you have to sit here, Dr. Ba. For want of time, I think there are questions. Where are my friends who will help us? I think we'll have to take a few questions this time. Very few questions. Okay. Let's have the question now.
Hello. Mine might not be quite a question, it's more of a comment, but also for me to begin to wrap my head, or if you like, begin to close the loop. I want to, I think this microphone is not only too heavy, but... Hello. Okay, let us assume the purpose for which we're here is asthma and related access to care. Let us assume that this lecturer, lecturers are now poor. They've just left the middle class. So if he has need to access care, and in this case, care that has some level of emergency, there are two challenges he faces. One is money, fiscal access. The second challenge he faces is availability of that facility where he's going to obtain the service. The doctors have not jackpot, the drugs are still there, and then the trained people are available to provide the service. In this case, asthma care. Let us assume that the recommended type of medicine is also supposed to be available. What are the chances that this, my friend, will get to Park Lane, or in this case, UNTH, where the care is available? If he has to go to New Haven, or whichever primary health care facility is around here, if he has to go there, he won't find a provider of asthma care there because it's not part of the primary health care package. They are not supposed to be getting involved in that. If he has to go to a private hospital, which might be available, in this case, maybe Niger Foundation, it means he needs a lot more money. So how do we solve this, my friend's problem? To access care. We can manage the transport and other physical challenges that he might need to encounter. In this case, just the distance. It's not Botswana, so it's not 5 minutes or 5 kilometers. He might have to travel 22 kilometers to Ituku. So he has that challenge. But let's say it's managed. Let's say the transportation is available. He can afford it. He has only 4,000 left of his small salary. The problem, therefore, is poverty, lack of funding. And what is the solution? 3 things have come out of the discussions that I had today. One is government increase the budget 13%. Yes, that's okay, but that's not the problem. That's really not the problem. Because having involved in the assessment of funding of the Federal Ministry of Health for the past 4 or 5 years, I can tell you that funding or budgetary increase is good, but it's not the problem. What somebody has said in one way or the other is that more health should be available for the money that is even available. And that is the question of accountability at the level of people who are supposed to be using the money. So government, the political class may give you that budget, but you find that those who are managing, and in this case you've stepped down from the political class, you've come to the managerial level, that money is stuck there.
Yeah.
The money is stuck there, it's not available to make it easy for this man to get that service. And one good reason is the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. 5% of the 1% of the Consolidated Revenue Fund of Nigeria is been sitting idle in an account since 2019. That money is supposed to be part of the funding of the emergency transport so that this guy can stay, make a call, and ambulance will come and take him. The money is sitting, not used. Right? You're getting my point.
Absolutely.
So raising the budget is one thing, but making sure that the money does the service. And that is why Larry's presentation struck me, and that is exactly why I decided to close this loop. Issue of accountability at the political level and then managerial level. At the managerial level, one of the things you just have to do is supervision. A governor asked me one time, say, what do you think is the solution to the problem of this state's health care? I say supervision, supervision, supervision. Because, well, I don't know if I should sound really very personal, okay? But because Larry likes to use life example, because I stepped into an office in an institution where I was chairman of board, the revenue profile of that little unit, because I spent no more than 20 minutes there, the revenue profile rose from 5 million per month to 30 million. Where was the 25 million going to? Obinna calls it corruption in the health system. The last thing I want to say that will enable my friend get access to asthma care is that you provide, you liberalize, you democratize universal health care. And it's easy to roll that out. Whether you're talking about the bishops, there's Ndobisi healthcare, community-based healthcare insurance in Enugu State. There's Ndokako. There is Soros. But Enugu State government, I hope they are not very close. Because I don't have Mopol. I hope they sincerely talk with people like Ede and their like, and ensure that there is democratization of universal health care coverage, so that this, my friend, can just, by flashing a card, approach UNTH or Park Lane and drop the card and get treated. And that is what we should be looking for. Democratization of universal health care coverage for our people, and ensuring supervision of the managerial people, and ensuring that there is some level of accountability holding at the political and managerial level. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edwin Obodo. Thank you. Do we have questions there?
Yeah.
Good.
I am Chies Chukwuemeka Nwankwo, a retired director of the Federal Ministry of Health. Okay? Yeah. Universal health coverage, very fine. Okay? I was part of the health insurance scheme of the Federal Ministry of Health. Whether it works is a story for another day. It's not just saying universal health coverage. Fine. I was here when my fellow Rotarian, Tony, I think he represents the MNA man. Is he there? Aha, thank you. I'm happy you are there. It's like, let us start with insuring your vehicle. Okay? When you have third party, is when you are involved in an accident that you will know what actually the insurance company can do. I want to congratulate my fellow widower, Chinwe Koba. He's gone beyond me. Am I funny? No. He lost the wife a year after I lost mine. I have a foundation, Lady Ugo Beza Bagelewan Kribanugo Foundation, on paper. But it's not as practical. You've gone steps forward. Whatever you think we can do to help you move forward, we will do that. What I'm saying is that it's not just saying universal health insurance. Let it not be the insurance of Nigeria, like insuring your motor vehicle. Even when you have comprehensive health insurance, comprehensive vehicle insurance, the insurance company in this hopeless country that we call Nigeria will find their way out of not paying you what is you are due.
Okay.
Now, the problem of Nigerian health system is with the politicians. We were there when Odunza was talking. It's not government. If you're a civil servant, you are part of the government. If you are a clergy, you are part of the government.
Okay.
It's the political class.
All right.
The moment we are, like by next year, I'll make sure I will assist you in getting the legislators here. So that our business will not be ending with just voting them in.
Yes,
and
sir.
Going there and telling us
We really appreciate that. Please, I will advise we'll have to keep our submissions short. Please, you have to get a minute and a half, please. You are done with it. Thank you.
My name is Mrs. Otuka Chika. Actually, he has spoken what I want to say, but what I want to say is this. When you talk of national health insurance, I know that it's only the people in the civil service that we are enrolled. And just like my brother said, to me, it's a failure. Because when you go there, it's either they will tell you, maybe they will write a prescription, maybe investigate. They will tell you that that investigation didn't tarry. At times when you go there, they won't even give you the drugs that you need. They would, especially those expensive, they will tell you that it's out of stock, that they don't have it. It's only paracetamol and flagyl and all that they will give to you. So my question I want to throw to Mr. Dr. Onya, I hope this one that Federal Enugu State is about to do will not be like that. And some people will come to hospital without national health insurance, whatever, they will keep turning them around. Go to this hospital, go to this place, do this. How are you people going to make it so that it will be easier for people that have this card to access medical without any stress? Because I know stress some of us are passing. When I went to UNTH with national, I knew what I really passed through.
Okay.
As I say, I had to forget about national health. I took care of everything by myself. But what are you people going to do to make sure that people that are accessing this health don't suffer such stress?
All right. Thank you. Let's try to keep it short. We'll try to get the mic to you. Right? Okay, go ahead, sir.
My name is Alumona. I come from a little where the south of this state called Aloago.
Called what? Called
Aloago.
Okay.
Now we're talking about universal health coverage. And when Dr. Oba was speaking, he pointed out that universal health coverage has to do with provision of quality health care when needed, where needed, and to whom it is needed. Now, in my community, there is a health center commissioned about 3 or 4 years ago. I had traveled home about 3 times. I went to that health center. And on these 3 occasions I went there, I only met lizards and some other crawling animals. I never met any human being. I don't know if there is any woman that has delivered in that hospital. So my question is this. As we are pushing, and as Dr. Tony has said, about what the Enugu state government is doing about health insurance, that's talking about health financing. How will the poor man in my village be able to access, when there is financing, okay, when there is health financing, how will he be able to access asthma care, for example, since there is no medical facility around, no primary around? How will he be able to access that? Thank you.
All right. Who's with the mic? Go ahead, please.
My question is directed to Dr. Larry.
Your name?
Chikamso. So I just want to ask, it's about Ozemena in the picture. Has any sensitization been done or an awareness to asthmatic patients? Has any been done yet after the incident? Because a lot of people are not aware of whatever that is happening. So I just want to know if any awareness have been made to the public or in hospitals or something. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody with the mic? Some people are raising their hands in front.
I have a question. So my question is directed to any of the panelists. We already know that the system in Nigeria is bad, and we are working on making it better to access this universal health coverage. Has there been a way to involve telemedicine and digital health coverage as a part of accessing this universal health coverage to the people here in Nigeria? Has it ever been considered as a model to help people to get access to services they need when they cannot get it here in our country? That's my question.
All right. Sorry, there's someone in front. Okay, after that, there's someone in front here, and then we'll come back to the panel.
All protocol drill that. My question goes to...
Your name?
My name is Pius Okwe. A question goes to Dr. Larry, the man I respect much. Sir, I once worked with a bank going to old Emene Road. I saw a fatal accident. I saw the community crowd standing fast, shouting, Jesus, Ewo, Jesus, Ewo. There was no help. I started shouting, what are you doing here? You are supposed to assist these people. They said, how can we assist? I was very angry in my spirit. I stopped the commuters, packed some of them to orthopedic. And the driver stood and asked me, where is your police report? Who will pay me for these services? I told him, save life first. Let's go. I will handle that. He said, let me see ID card, the officer. I said, sorry, don't ask me anything. Let's go to orthopedic. Getting to orthopedic, I noticed that they have to pass due process. I was handicapped, financial handicap. I have to escape and drop them there. I tell the driver, drop them there. In how they want to do, let them handle the case. I ran away. I came few hours time, and there are some persons gave up. Now my question is, in this incident of a police report, who are you? How should or we be handling this kind of incident if you see something like this? That is first question. Then the other question is, I also saw some brutalities from our forces. They shot a young man on the leg. That's a criminal. I was like, would they treat this man so that he wouldn't just die without giving an information? They asked me, who are you? I said, I'm sorry, sir. This man has more information to give to the nation. Can you treat this man? They asked me, who are you for the last time? You know, I just intimidated them by telling them,
all right,
don't ask me that kind of question. Then, sir, according to what you said in the doctor here, health insurance, I want to ask also, or wish to ask, the 12,000 we give, is it meant for only indigenous of Enugu State, or anybody that resides in Enugu can register with the 12,000 here, or he or she will be treated? Because that, I just took my baby to one of the hospitals now for X-ray.
I think
there's no light.
Thank you. I think they get the kernel of your drift. Thank you, so that we can respond to you in good time. There's someone in front.
Someone already has a microphone. Alex, thank you very much. Let me, Obiora Odono is my name. Once again, I introduce myself. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Amaka Chinwuba Foundation for a program well thought out. I believe that my day has not been wrongly spent by my attendance here. And at this point, I want to give a special accolade to Mr. Larry Oguego for touching my mind in a very special way, which is part of why I have to ask this question. And the question will dovetail into solution. Number one, I would like to ask the chairman of Amaka Chinwuba Foundation if after this event you have a way of relating to government by way of communique to assist them, probably take a second look at some of the solutions we have generated here. That's one. Two, the suggestion aspect of my intervention here is the fact that I would suggest that this foundation, Amaka Chinwuba Foundation, the Human Rights Volunteer Corps, and all other non-governmental organizations should please look at the idea of organizing an across-the-board consortium of civil society organizations that will make us follow the money, like Larry said in his
all right.
Follow the money.
Thank you.
So that we will be able to track this. All these issues about corruption, accountability, and the rest of it will be taken care of. Thank you.
I think we should respond to the questions already asked completely. All right. Okay, please, just go ahead. After yours, please.
Good afternoon, House. Permit me to stand on the already established protocol. My name is Danny Manuel, which I'm a journalist. I have a question for Larry, because he touched my heart when he talked about the citizenry not holding the government accountable, not holding them responsible. Rather, we sing their praises, and that's what's their heads, and they think they are doing all they're supposed to do. And I want to ask, where do we start from here? How do we get ourselves mobilized to hold those on leadership positions accountable? Because the society is polarized. Many a times when you want to bring people together and they explain actually what is happening, they will term you enemy of the society or enemy of the government and the rest of them. So how do we begin to mobilize ourselves, maybe civil society organizations and the rest professionals, to begin to hold our governments accountable so that the mess we are facing in our country at least will be minimized in due course? Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a man in suit here. Hello? Can you give him the mic? A man in suit in front? Yes.
Good afternoon, my discussants. All protocols duly observed. I come from an establishment that train students and healthcare professionals too. But you see, when we saw the flyer of the conference, we were touched with the asthma issue. Because during exams, you see students having asthmatic attacks. Some suddenly give up during those strenuous periods of exams. And then we had tried to get ourselves ready by getting doctors, and then so that if such attacks come, we're able to handle them. But the issue why I am standing is that there is lack of emergency response. When Larry Ogogo was talking, he just talked about it and then breezed through it. But that's the core. That's the core. If somebody has an attack now and falls down, what happens from there? The schools don't train emergency response team. Every person, from the security to the students, should have a little knowledge of CPR and average emergency to help in time of need. Not only for asthma, but for other emergency responses. I want to plead with the convener of this conference to look towards that. Okay. Maybe in future.
Emergency
and
response.
Then, one problem we have about universal health coverage is attitude. It is attitudinal. We have to change our attitude to get things right. That's the beginning point. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Go ahead. Let's have you, after you, we'll come back to the panel.
Thank you. Let me stand on the existing protocol. I want to thank Mr. Larry for your presentation. In addition to what you said, when we are talking about health budgeting, my only problem is that we are very good at promulgating laws, but we have a very big problem in checks and balances. That's enforcement. I discovered that even when you give this budget, when you allot these budgets to tertiary institutions, you now see that the CMDs of those organizations sit on those money. So when we are talking about funding, I think we should go deeper than that. Is we are going to look at where those monies are channeled to. Because if you go through all these hospitals and see what is happening there, you will now see that there is need to find a way to checkmate how these monies are being disbursed. That is my own, to add to what you have just said. It's
all right.
Very good. You directed us well on that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's come back to the panel. Maybe I'll start with you because since you are the extreme, Dr. Tony Onya. I'm sure there are some of the responses that you can easily lash on.
Yes.
Let's try to be brief with the responses.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will start with the lady down there who narrated her ordeal with NHIS, and especially as regards the contents of the drug list of NHIS. All right, I want to say that that is one of the essence of what we are doing here today. We are creating awareness. You have mentioned your ordeal. A lot of people have said, narrated their experiences. I would expect that from here, we will make a statement to the government, to the relevant stakeholders, to National Health Insurance Scheme, In fact, I would have actually wished that we invited the agency, National Health Insurance Agency, and Enugu State, okay, they are not here, and the Enugu State Agency for Universal Health Coverage. They would have been hearing these things firsthand, all right? But it is not late. The comments we are making, the communique that will probably come out of this, they will read, they will know, and we will hope that some changes will be made. However, as a way of information, I know that the National Health Insurance Agency is reviewing their drug lists. And like Dr. Ada Ayuk said, we had a meeting with them yesterday at UNTH. And this issue was also raised. And they said they are reviewing their drug list, that very soon a new drug list will come out that will incorporate all these other drugs, apart from just the previous essential drugs. That's that. Then someone asked, how will he access health care, even in the face of health financing from there? And well, we'll push it back to government. I mean, accessing health care, like you said, in your village, where you have a health center, and yet nobody is there to provide that health care, is the function of the government, is the function of the Ministry of Health. And like Professor Ed said, somebody needed to be supervising that health center to ensure that it's working, to ensure that the staffs there come to work, to ensure that they have the equipment and drugs that they need to work with. So it's poor supervision, which is the main responsibility of the government to take care of. Also, we need to also hold the people who are supposed to be there accountable. I mean, like Larry said, you don't just watch these things and then you keep quiet. You noted these things. The right thing should be you write a petition to the Department of Health in your local government, and you get your community to follow it up. And those people who are supposed to be working there will be queried, and they will sit up and do their job. And the health care that you're supposed to get at that level, definitely if they sit down and sit back there and do their work, you will get that health care. Then someone talked about emergency, bringing accident cases to National Orthopedic Hospital. Well, again, if we had a very effective national health insurance scheme, that would have taken care of all that. You don't just bring a patient to the hospital, dump the patient, and you run away. No. But if we had an insurance scheme that was effective, that was working, I mean, even if someone had an accident, once you present to the hospital, or not even just accident, present to the hospital with your information, you'll be taken care of, you'll be treated. Okay? And I know that recently there's a law that was passed that if an accident victim is brought to the hospital, the doctors are obligatory to treat that patient. You're under obligation to treat. Whether you make deposit or not, you can recover your money later. Okay? So you shouldn't have run away. You should have stayed to ensure that that patient was treated.
Okay. And
then someone now asked the Enugu State Universal Health Coverage Scheme, is it for only natives of Enugu State? But the answer is no. As long as you reside in Enugu, you are entitled to it. All you need to do is to go register and you'll get sorted out. I think that those are my questions.
All right. Larry Ogogo.
I refer to Larry.
Okay, thank you. I also want to look at the question, okay, that where do we start? How do we make progress? How do we mobilize people to hold accountable? Well, first of all, are we listening? Hello? Are we still here? Okay, let me ask a simple question. I know you're eating, but you can use your left hand. If you are interested in being part of an accountability process in a very simple way that is not involving, can you raise one hand? The one you're using to eat. Very simple process. Okay, put down the hand. Now, I'll say a few things. One is that how do we start? We can start now. Two is, first of all, who does the supervision? You spoke about supervision, and you did that very well. I now wanted to explain to us that we can create a simple system from this conference. If your village medical center staff refuse to come to work, you don't even have to, you may be afraid like a normal Nigerian, oh, they'll come after me. They don't have to come after you. If you are part of this team, and we'll establish the team right here, what you do is that you give the information to the team. So the team will be faceless, but the team will follow up on the matter. Let me tell you the truth. If somebody that has a name complains about the matter, it will have more impact than you complain as a person. If an association complains, it has more impact. The MD of Dream FM is here. They have a program where social issues and human rights issues are aired. If you take that matter to Dream FM and they speak about it 2 times, they will either remove those people because they're embarrassing government, or they will sit up. So we can do these things. The truth is that most of the time, because we are tired, we don't report anymore. We have just given up on the system. But one of the things we can accomplish today is to wake up again and at least try again. And I believe we can succeed. So how do we hold them accountable? If you want to put it simply, by taking simple steps that will bring the things that we don't like that they are doing to public domain. You don't have to even sue the person. That is going too far. Most of the time, if you bring evil to the public domain, the evildoer will retreat. So we should be able to consistently collect information as to how things happen, and then insist that the ones we don't like, we publish. I will tell us a simple story that will connect to this. A CMD of a tertiary institution in the southeast at some point was living in a hotel at the expense of that institution for God knows how long. The people who were running that hotel knew he was CMD and was paying from the institution's economy. The people who were in that institution knew he was wasting their money. Nobody talked about it. All you needed was one radio program or one publication on social media, and you get out of that hotel. But no, everybody just pretended that it was normal. Unfortunately or rather fortunately for him, I had it after he had left the hotel. And when I went to inquire, they confirmed that he lived there for months. So how do you explain that? So if we want to actually be part of this process, what we should do is to be willing to give it some time. Not much time. You don't have to be a crusader to do it. You don't have to be Ganifa with me. You don't have a setup. All you need to do is to be willing to give it some time. For instance, if you are in a village and your health center does not work, you should be able to, if you go there and you don't see anybody, you snap a picture, make a note, and say you were here at this time. Nobody was here. You are afraid. Okay, if you are afraid, don't post it. Send it to that team that will set up here. And then we will send it and say, see, you are supposed to be there at this time. So if we want to take responsibility for some of these things, we can do them. All you need to do is follow our lead. So after this conference, one of the things we are also hoping to do is not only to inform government and all of that, but we are also going to get back to you via phone numbers. So for some of us who really want to be part of real change, we can begin to galvanize ourselves to be the change that we want to see in our communities. That is very doable. And then somebody asked about Ozemezina. So how do we prevent those things from happening? There are 2 things I said. I said many things, but 2 speak to this. One is that we are depending too much on government. Sometimes we forget that people who are eventually recruited into positions of influence in government are people who started outside government sphere and they made impact. And then somebody in government may say, oh, this guy is doing this thing well, so let's bring him in to help us when we have a sincere leader. Now, why am I saying this? Because when we want to use the concept of Ozemezina to protect ourselves from the kind of things that happen to us, what we have to do is to develop solutions that we will not only deploy in our own small ways, but with people in government to deploy. So whether we are discussing asthma, or we are discussing albinism or other conditions, we can actually create what I call small solutions. We can create small creative solutions, even starting from here. I made a suggestion that nobody is even thinking about it seriously. We have churches in Nigeria that have more than maybe 5 million members. If a church has 5 million members, if they can mobilize 1 million members, let me even say 500,000 members, to subscribe to a health insurance system, that church can begin to change the health care status of the church members. And if that begins to happen, maybe across religious divides or denominational divides, the church can actually stimulate a functional system of health insurance that runs on integrity. Because part of the Nigerian problem that we are pretending we don't know about is that you can collect all the money, make all the policies, and the money will just disappear into thin air. Okay. And then you don't get the results. So I think it's important that the summary of my answer is that all our action-based solutions can start from here. I believe sincerely in taking small steps and then watch the steps grow.
Okay. Thank you so much. Dr. Chimikoba, in addition to the things you want to respond to, I would like to quickly ask you, health financing, it has become a big ask in Nigeria. What can we do urgently to fix the problem?
Hello. I think the first thing are the things we've earlier discussed during the presentation. But most importantly, I said you can't divorce health financing system from the existing governance system. Already we have a very weak governance system. But to deal with those issues is, first of all, accountability issue. What are we doing with the currently existing funding? That is very important. But beyond that, health financing is not just for the government. It's something that involves every one of us. So in that case, there may be need to mobilize resources, not just from the government circle, but also from the private sector. Private sector here also includes the corporate bodies, it includes the communities and all that. I think it was Larry when he made his presentation, and I did say that also, that if in a community you have 100,000 persons that are contributing 500 naira per month, that gives into hundreds of million naira per month. And that money can be used, as a revolving fund to provide health care services to those people in those communities. But beyond that, there's a need for us to follow through these monies. Recently, what government has done, and we give kudos to them, is that annual reports of government are published online. The same thing with their budgets, they are published online. So I will expect citizens also, even though there's need also to train our citizens to understand figures, to understand these budget figures, is to go get those documents and ask yourself, this amount that has been budgeted and this amount has been spent, where are they spent? On what were they spent on? It was recently, I think it was in Dream FM, I said it, in other stations that I said. I was reviewing a state government financial statement for 2021 and 2022. And I discovered for health expenditure, actual health expenditure for that state government, combined for 2021 and 2022 was about 200 million naira. That is capital expenditure. But the same government spent 3.98 billion naira for those 2 years to purchase cars. So if citizens are following through these things, they will be able to now ask questions, because it will be evidence-based advocacy, evidence-based dialogue. Because the data is already there on the net. You have the data, it's no longer hearsay. You can say your expenditure in 2021 to purchase cars, like I keep saying it, is social amounts, and you didn't spend anything on health or water or education. Why is it so? Yet you said you're a government that is coming to do this and that. Why is your policy, your expenditure, not in alignment with your policy trust? I think that is one thing that needs to happen.
Absolutely. I think I want to respond to that. In addition to that, Larry, because I still have a question for you. It's a man know thyself moment. Are we holding our leaders to account enough? And from what we've heard in this hall, how can we do that urgently? For me, there's need for urgency. Things are not going well in the country.
Okay, yeah. If we want to hold our leaders accountable, we should, first of all, modify our expectations. The truth is that we have very low expectations. In fact, some of us don't have any expectations anymore. We assume that this is how it is, so we shouldn't bother. But we should bother because they collect our commonwealth for the purpose of serving us. So we should modify our expectations. That is the first thing we must do. Then after modifying our expectations, we will now, on the basis of the proper expectations we should have, hold them accountable. And how do we do that? It still goes back to what I said. Some of us already have experience in holding leaders accountable. That is, Chiwi Ikoba has that experience. I have that experience. You've worked with the Nigerian Medical Association. You have that experience. So what we need to do is to actually come together without any fear or favor and do the needful. And that needful is to boldly point out the things we do not agree with. Like you just said, you can't buy cars with 4 billion naira and at the same time spend 200 million on health. That is less than, in fact, they spend 5% of the amount they spent on buying cars on health. That doesn't make sense. But nobody challenged it because nobody even took time to crystallize that information. But those who have it didn't use it. So if we want to hold accountable, we must be able to mix knowledge with courage. And like I said, if you don't have courage, collect the information, give it to those that have the courage, then they will use the information.
Okay.
And then on the other hand, I also wanted to remind us that we can be creative. Some of us who are complaining about our rural areas, I want to use a live example, a real example of what happened in my own community. There was a time way back when I was a young boy where we didn't have any hospital in my community. But we had a civic center in my community, built by the community members, a one-story building with a small hall downstairs and a big hall upstairs. And I remember that somewhere along the line, in the course of trying to solve that problem, my dad raised a suggestion. Why don't we, since we rarely hold meetings there, why can't we convert that fine hall upstairs to a hospital? It was like a joke. And they said, is it possible? Long story short, a committee was put in place, and within 6 months, they found a private practitioner who was willing to take that space for a minimal rent. The rent was actually cosmetic. It was for the purpose of documentation. But his primary job, it was spelled out clearly, was to provide health services for the community for a fee. Now, because he was giving the space and giving support, what happened was that he knew that the community was watching. This is like, oh no, it's our own. So it was like a private-public partnership, or rather private-community partnership. The community gave the space and then promised him that, of course, you can see we are here. When we have health problems, we'll patronize you. And that thing worked beautifully, so much so that, because it's my clan, not the town, my village. Do you know that within 2 years, every other village replicated similar, because there were halls everywhere that were empty. So we can be innovative. One of the things I've noticed here is that we are not open to innovation. We are just saying government, government, government.
Yes.
We need to be open to innovation. Innovation can also drive government.
Okay. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for my panelists. Dr. Tony Onyea, Mr. Larry Oguego, and Dr. Chiwikoba. Thank you so much for your time. Yes, I think we'll move to the awards section in this ceremony. We'll have awards for a few individuals. Thank you. We'll have awards for a few individuals. We'd like to have them in a few minutes to get the awards. I will soon have the names of those that will be given the awards. And of course, you know that this is a foundation that obviously needs donations and funding to operate. We'll also encourage you to donate generously to this foundation. I'm sure that they can project the account details in a larger form on the screen, if they can hear me. We can project the account details of Amaka Chinwekoba Foundation on the screen so that it can be seen. I'd like to have, very quickly, we will have the awards and then conclude with a vote of thanks and probably take group photograph. And I can see there's a lot of eating in the hall. Attention span is waning. And you know, it's so much hard work talking to people who are eating and you are not. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing because it also tests you in different ways. Mr. Den Emmanuel, good to see you, by the way. I didn't know you were the person sitting there all this while. Good to see you. So we will have the awards. Okay, Professor. Yes, Professor Bond Anehe will guide us through the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can see this year's step is not health sensitive. The carpet is not well placed. It can trip me, and if I fall, I might have asthma. So do I do the presentations here, or I should manage to go up? This thing is not this thing. Should have folded it. So bring the distance. Bring the. My duty is straightforward and short, is to present awards to our speakers today. In no particular order, I want to trust the lady. Anyone she brings on top, I will present first. So I'll trust you. It is my honor, on behalf of Amaka Chinwekoba Foundation, to invite, if he's listening, Larry Oguego for his award. On behalf of ACOF, this award of appreciation is presented to Larry Oguego for sharing his valuable and professional knowledge as a partner and speaker during the 2023 Amaka Chinwekoba International Asthma Conference, which took place today, July 20th, 2023. God bless you. Well, I think there were 3 speakers. So if I call the second one, the third one, without me calling him, can start coming to the stage. It's my pleasure once again on behalf of the foundation to invite Dr. Ifediora Amobi for his presentation, for the award. Ifediora Amobi. If he's not here, if there's only Ozemena here, he can come and receive the award on. Yeah. Okay, someone I wanna. Okay. So, okay. On behalf of the foundation, which is the founder and chairman, I present this award to Dr. Ifediora Amobi for sharing his valuable and professional knowledge as a speaker during the 2023 Amaka Chinwekoba International Asthma Conference, which took place today, July 20th, 2023. Congratulations. Now, may I invite, is there any other word coming? Huh? I only have one left. I saw more than 3 speakers. Yeah. I saw this NMM man that spoke. He didn't give him chai. Maybe you're looking at him as part of the problem. May I invite somebody to receive this award on behalf of Dr. Ayuk? Adeze Ayuk. Can somebody come? On behalf of this foundation, I present this award to you, or to somebody that looks like you, Dr. Adeze Ayuk, for sharing her valuable knowledge and professional knowledge as a partner and speaker during the 2023 Amaka Chinwoba International Asthma Conference. Congratulations. Before I leave the stage, the cover. Before I leave the stage, I've had many things today, and I was looking for the solution to all the things they said today, and I saw it. See it here. Are you people hearing it? So we had a chance last 3 months to start what can help us, and we pray that the people who has the 5 people sitting somewhere will save us. God bless all of you.
May we now invite Professor Ed for the remaining presentations.
I hope you have the proxy who will receive it. Okay. Have to. This is a very special award that is being presented to Right Reverend Dr. Christian Onyeka Onya for his consistent and outstanding support to this foundation over the years. May the Reverend gentleman or his appointee please come and receive the award. This award is for his support, leadership, collaboration, and consistent contribution to this foundation. Thank you very much. That will be all for this category.
Thank you so much, Prof. May we ask the protocol to share as a paper containing the details of the Amaka Chinwoba Foundation. If you want to partner with the foundation, you can see the details there. Please, if the protocols have it, can they share it at this time? I believe there are papers that can be shared where they have their bank details, their contacts, and the programs they have. You can find out exactly how you can partner with the Amaka Chinwoba Foundation. If you want something like this to continue happening, here is an opportunity to do that.
So first, a bit about GAP. The Global Allergy and Airways Patient Platform is now over 105 member organizations strong and continuing to grow. We currently are the leading patient advocacy voice in respiratory and immunology across the world because of organizations like ACOV Nigeria. We have representation of patient advocates from every continent across the world and work alongside WHO, GINA, GOLD, and other global guidelines committees to ensure that the patient voice is front and center of all the guidelines and policy work that is being done. We focus on 4 key areas of awareness, education, advocacy, and research. And again, it's an honor to be with you and to support ACUF Nigeria today. So here you see the mission, vision, and values of GAP. We work to globally support and empower patients with allergies, airways, and atopic diseases by protecting their rights and certainly insisting on the support of governments, healthcare professionals, and the general public in addressing these chronic diseases. Ultimately, our values of respect, responsibility, and relationships drive us toward creating a world where patients with allergies, airways, and atopic diseases live better. Now today, as we turn our focus to health technology assessments and health and financing implications, I think it's important to ground on what is HTA and why is it needed. HTA actually supports the decisions on whether or not a health technology or a medicine should be used and reimbursed. And the aim of an HTA is to inform the development of safe, effective health policies that are patient-focused and seek to achieve the best value as defined by the decision makers. And again, there are various types of health technology assessments. It can be medicines, vaccines, med devices, surgical interventions, service delivery care models, public health interventions, and clinical interventions. So it's important to understand what type of HTA assessment you are speaking into and being involved in. And typically in the regulatory framework or environment, there are 2 different types of reviews. The first is a regulatory review, and this evaluates whether a treatment is safe and clinically effective. The HTA actually goes a step further and considers the overall benefit and value of a treatment, including cost effectiveness. So here you see it has the economic consideration, the budget impact analysis, organization impact, equity issue, ethical issues, feasibility considerations, the acceptability to healthcare providers, and the acceptability to patients are all aspects that are considered in an HTA assessment. Certainly, it is not a one-size-fits-all. So countries each have different HTA processes, and it's important to understand and identify what your country's HTA body is and how they move forward with consideration of different pieces of evidence. The payers also may use extra tools in their decision making. Sometimes they include additional benefit assessments that evaluate whether a treatment is better than the current standard of care, as well as cost effectiveness assessments or budget impact analyses overall. But this is going to vary from country to country. And so again, it's in outlining and knowing the level of unmet need, the prevalence of disease, certainly how this impacts individuals, but also at the collective population health, the clinical value, the economic value, the competitors and the potential pricing of those competitors, but also within that patient population, what is the age, what is the severity of disease, how does this extend the life of one or improve the life of one or a collective population, to add that social value as well as the consideration of the available funding for coverage. So again, the term value is quite subjective, and it honestly depends on the perspective of who is defining the value. And so knowing the way that your HTA assessment body defines value is very important. Sometimes that's by quality years, adjusted life years. Sometimes that is they do take into consideration other factors like lifestyle impact, work impact, these sorts of things. But the HTA typically considers all sorts of evidence, including that clinical effectiveness and safety compared to the current existing models of care, the economic considerations, and the social and ethical impacts on the healthcare system and the individual lives of patients. And when payers are making their decisions, it's most commonly on a combination of 4 key criteria. What is the unmet need? What is the clinical value of the solution that's being offered? What is the economic value? And what is the bottom line budget impact and affordability of the treatment solution that's under consideration? Now, how can patient advocacy organizations be involved in these HTA assessments? There are 3 different levels. The first is information sharing. So this is where you are just provided information as the process is moving forward, but there's really no meaningful involvement in the review. And Sweden really has adopted this model where they inform patient advocacy organizations along the review, but certainly there's no active engagement or involvement. Consultation is where PAGs are actually given the opportunity to provide feedback, but not necessarily in how the HTA review is carried out. They're just relied upon to provide comment about the decisions, about the considerations, and the UK and the NICE model is one that has a consultative approach. Now, the most desired or the most participatory approach is one where patient advocacy groups are actively involved in the process, but also in the design of the review. They are outlining what considerations should be part of the review, and Scotland has a wonderful program called the PACE program and process, which does provide that true participatory engagement in the HTA process. Now, when you're making your case with a health technology assessment review, it's important that you remember this model. First, we have to have the scientific evidence. We must have a compelling evidence-based story to articulate the need for change. If what we're doing is enough or working, why would we need to add yet another solution? Also, don't forget that every policymaker has a heart, and so we don't need to underestimate the power of truly emotive storytelling. Emotion is an important E in this model and in the facilitation of connecting with the individuals who are making that HTA assessment decision. But we can't fail to realize the importance of the third E, and that is economics. We have to show the value in the economic impact of these treatment solutions. And I think most importantly and foundationally is that it should not be a one-off interaction. You shouldn't be the very first time that an HTA body hears about your organization when you're making that pitch for coverage of a new treatment. It's about creating relationships over time, building that trust, and being the go-to source and voice on behalf of patients in your disease area. So this 3 E's in an R model are really fundamental in telling your story in a compelling way, in a very concise way, to get the points across and to demonstrate that you as a patient advocate know how to communicate in a most compelling and effective manner. Now, in severe or difficult to control asthma, there are several opportunities for us as PAGs to speak up. First, access to timely diagnosis. We know that in most cases, it takes patients years to get accurately diagnosed. So perhaps there's a new medical device that's being considered for a more accurate, timely diagnosis. Perhaps it is the coverage of spirometry, which has been around for a long time, but still is not covered universally. Secondly, access to appropriate level of care. We know that many asthma patients can be effectively managed in primary care, and yet not all of them can. So the evolution or design of a hub and spoke model like the UK or Italy with the severe asthma network that is established there, these are ways that we can ensure better access to specialty care when a patient is no longer appropriately managed in primary care. And so feeding into that regulatory process, encouraging that process to establish a severe asthma network is very vitally important. And then access to innovative treatments. We've already talked about this. This is the primary way that HTA bodies engage PAGs today. When new treatments are coming onto the market and they're considering reimbursement or coverage, they want to hear from the patient advocates about how this will address the unmet need, how this will change lives, both at the individual level and at the population health level. And finally, quality standards. We know that in severe or difficult to control asthma, there is overuse of both short-acting bronchodilators and oral corticosteroids, systemic steroids. And so again, we can help to influence policy, both legislative and regulatory policy, to ensure that we get the right treatment to the right patient at the right time with the fewest harms. And we know that overuse of SABA and OCS does cause harm to patients. There are higher morbidity rates and mortality rates associated with both. And so it's very important that we take steps to appropriately limit the use of these and to move towards more effective treatments long term. Now also, PAGs can speak into the need for national action plans, but also the importance of individualized action plans. Written action plans aid in the communication of the individual's written plan of treatment and plan of action during an exacerbation or flare, and also can improve